The transmission lasted 4 seconds. No preamble, no military formality, just a voice, flat and cold, cutting through every frequency the alien coalition monitored simultaneously. "You took the wrong one." That was it. 4 words. No signature, no coordinates, no demands. In the alien flagship's command chamber, General Theron Vask leaned back in his seat and let the silence stretch. Around the oval war table, 6 of his senior commanders exchanged glances. Some almost smiled. One actually did. Commander Leith, who oversaw prisoner operations, was the first to speak. "A threat?" he asked, tilting his angular head. "From one human?" Transmitted in the open, Vask set down his chalice. Apparently, another commander, older, scarred from campaigns across 4 star systems, let out a slow breath through his gills. His name was Aura, and unlike the others, he did not smile. He stared at the communications panel where the forward message still blinked on the log. "Which prisoner?" Aura asked. Leth pulled up the manifest on the central display. "Female, human, approximately 40 years of age. Taken from a forward position 2 days ago during the Eastern Sweep. She was carrying no rank insignia, no weapons. She was alone. A civilian? That was our assessment, yes." Aura was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Run her biometrics again. Full spectrum this time, not just surface scan." Leth looked mildly annoyed but complied. The room waited. The result came back in 30 seconds. And then the room got very quiet. The biometric file was almost entirely redacted, locked behind encryption layers that even the Coalition's own intelligence systems could not penetrate. Her name was listed only as a string of numbers. Her rank was blank. Her service history returned a single line of text in plain human script, as if someone had placed it there deliberately. It read, "If you are reading this, return her immediately." The smile left Leth's face. Vask studied the screen for a long moment. Then he reached forward and closed the file. "Double the guard on her cell," he said. "Increase perimeter sensors around the detention block. And someone find out who sent that transmission." He said it calmly, confidently, the way a man says something when he does not yet understand what he is dealing with. That would change. Earth's retreat had been the talk of the Coalition fleet for 2 weeks. After months of grinding resistance, human forces had pulled back sharply across every front simultaneously. Cities were abandoned. Fortifications were left empty. Supply lines went dark. To the alien commanders, it looked like exactly what it appeared to be. Collapse, the final exhaustion of a species that had fought well but simply run out of road. There had been celebration aboard the flagship. Actual celebration, with raised cups and proud declarations about the efficiency of the campaign. Vask had given a speech. He had used words like inevitable and concluded and legacy. What he had not used, because it had not occurred to him, was the word bait. The retreat had been too clean. That was the detail that Aura had flagged quietly in a report that very few people bothered to read. Human retreats throughout history were messy. They left equipment behind, they left wounded, they left traces of panic and exhaustion at every position. This retreat had left nothing. Every outpost stripped, every system wiped, every road behind them clear. Not the retreat of a broken army. The retreat of an army making room for something else. Aura had submitted his report. His superiors had skimmed it and moved on. There were celebrations to attend. He had gone to his quarters and sat in the dark for a long time. The first sign came 18 hours after the transmission. A patrol of 12 soldiers, sent to sweep a sector of the eastern ruins that had been quiet for days, stopped reporting at the 2-hour mark. Standard procedure allowed a window of 30 minutes before concern was raised. At the 45-minute mark, a second team was dispatched to investigate. They found the patrol's equipment. All of it. Weapons, helmets, communication devices. all stacked in a neat row at the edge of the ruins, like someone had taken the time to organize them carefully. The soldiers were gone. Not dead, not wounded, not dragged away in any direction that sensors could track. Simply gone, as if the earth had swallowed them whole. The second team radioed this report in a voice that was working very hard to sound routine. Back on the flagship, Leth received the report and dismissed it as a local anomaly, possibly a tunnel system the survey drones had missed. He authorized a wider sweep and went back to his work. Aura requested to be copied on all subsequent patrol reports from that sector. No one asked him why. No one really wanted to know why. The prisoner in Detention Block 7 had not spoken since her capture. She ate what was brought to her. She slept on the schedule that suited her, not the one the lights were programmed to enforce. She did not ask questions. She did not demand anything. She did not appear distressed. The guards assigned to her rotation had initially found this reassuring. Over time, they found it deeply unsettling. There was something about the way she watched, not in an obvious way. She did not stare at the guards or track their movements with visible intent. But when you left the room and then thought back on the interaction, you realized she had cataloged everything. The shift rotation, the response time on the door mechanism, the camera angles, the number of seconds between guard checks. She was not waiting to be rescued. She was learning. One guard filed an informal report on the third day, noting that the prisoner made him feel, in a way he struggled to articulate, observed. His superior removed the note from the record and told him to stop being dramatic. The guard requested a transfer to a different assignment the following morning. The request was denied. The second sign came on the fourth day. A refueling depot in the orbital ring, a quiet installation that handled logistics and had never once been flagged as a security concern, went offline at 0300 hours. No explosion, no distress call, just a clean shutdown, as if someone had walked to every critical system in sequence and powered each one down manually. When engineers were dispatched to restore operations, they found the facility intact, every system functional, every piece of equipment in place, and a single message scratched into the metal of the main control panel with what appeared to be a blade. Clock is running. The engineering team sent a photograph of it back to the flagship. Leth forwarded it to Vask with a note calling it a psychological operation. Primitive intimidation tactics. He recommended ignoring it. Aura forwarded his own note, separately, directly to Vask. It contained no recommendations. Just 3 words. We should talk. Vask called the meeting that evening. In the privacy of Vask's command suite, Aura spread his compiled data across the table. 12 incidents over 4 days. Patrol disappearances. Equipment found arranged in patterns. Facility shutdowns with no explanation. Messages left in places that should have been inaccessible. One person? Vask said. I believe so, Aura said. The signature is consistent. The methods, the timing, the placement of messages. It's not a team. Teams leave traces of coordination. This is one individual operating with complete autonomy. Vask studied the data, the transmission. You took the wrong one. You think this is about the prisoner? I think the prisoner is the reason this started, Aura said carefully. I think whoever sent that message is not negotiating. I think they are informing us. Informing us of what? Aura was quiet for a moment. That they are already here, and that they have been here since before we took her. The room was very still. Pull everything on the prisoner, Vask said finally. Everything. I don't care what level of clearance it takes. I want to know who she is. What they found, piece by piece, over the next 6 hours of digging through layers of encrypted human military records, was not a name. The name remained locked behind a wall of classification that even coalition intelligence tools could not crack. What they found instead was context, references in human strategic documents, a call sign that appeared in after-action reports from 7 different campaigns over 11 years. Never the subject of those reports. Always a peripheral mention. Always in the same grammatical form. Hunter provided support. Hunter resolved the situation. Hunter was present, never described, never detailed. Just present at the edges of some of the most strategically significant human operations in recent history, like a signature on a painting that you only notice after you have already been looking at it for a while. One document, a partial transcript of a human military debrief from 4 years ago, contained a single line that had apparently survived the encryption by accident, a fragment of a sentence that had not been fully scrubbed. It read, "Advised against taking the mission because Hunter would be in the area and we did not want to risk." The rest was gone. Let's read the fragment twice. "Hunter," he said. "The prisoner?" "No," Aura said. He turned the document so Vask could read it clearly. "The prisoner is who they took. Hunter is who they sent." The silence that followed had a different quality to it than any silence that had come before. The third sign was different from the others. No disappearances, no shut-down facilities, no blade-scratched messages. Instead, at 0600 hours on the 5th day, General Vask received a personal transmission on a channel that was not publicly broadcast. A channel that was in fact known to fewer than 20 beings in the entire Coalition fleet. A channel that was changed on a rotating cipher every 48 hours. The transmission was audio only. A human voice. Male, calm, almost conversational. "Morning, General. I'd like to arrange a trade. You give me back my colleague. I give you back your fleet in one piece. You have until 0800 to decide. I won't be calling again." Then silence. Vask sat with the transmission for a long moment. Then he looked at the 2 bodyguards stationed at his door and the 6 security officers in the outer corridor and the sensor web that blanketed every surface of his personal suite. He thought about how this man had gotten his private channel. He thought about what that meant. Then he called Aura. Aura's recommendation was simple and immediate. Release the prisoner. Arrange a neutral handoff. Document the exchange and describe it internally as a strategic redeployment decision. Preserve morale. Preserve the mission. Leth overruled him loudly. You did not negotiate with a single human operative. You did not reward a transmission on a stolen channel with compliance. You doubled security. You found him, and you ended this. Vask listened to both of them. Then he did what commanders sometimes do when they are more afraid of looking weak than of being wrong. He sided with Leith. Triple guard on the prisoner. Full lockdown of the detention block. Automated sentry systems activated on every approach corridor. 30 elite soldiers stationed in rotating positions around the perimeter of the block. Sensors calibrated to detect a single heartbeat at 50 meters. A perfect cage. Leth was proud of it. He walked the perimeter himself that afternoon and found no flaws. He told Vask that evening that whatever this Hunter was, whatever legend the humans had built around a call sign, it would end here. Aura said nothing. He returned to his quarters and pulled up the partial transcript again. Advised against taking the mission because Hunter would be in the area and we did not want to risk, he stared at it for a long time. They had not wanted to risk their own people being in Hunter's operational zone. Not the enemy, their own people. Aura began composing a new report. He did not finish it. At 0147 hours, every light in the detention block went out simultaneously. What the sensor logs recorded in the 11 minutes that followed was, to the engineers who later reviewed the data, almost impossible to explain. The automated sentries did not fire, not because they were disabled, but because they never acquired a target. Their tracking systems showed constant movement, constant adjustment, constantly almost locking on to something that was never quite where it appeared to be. Of the 30 elite soldiers stationed on the perimeter, 26 were found unconscious in the corridors, each one neutralized cleanly, without noise, without apparent struggle. The other 4 were found locked inside a storage compartment they had no memory of entering. The cell door had been opened from the inside, not breached, not cut, not forced. Opened as if someone had simply pressed the release mechanism, which meant someone on the inside had known exactly where that mechanism was, exactly how to reach it, and exactly when to use it. The prisoner was gone. In her cell, left on the floor with the deliberate placement of a calling card, was a single item, a Coalition security badge, Leth's badge, the one he had been wearing when he walked the perimeter that afternoon. He had not noticed it was gone. The message came at 0200 hours. Same private channel, same calm voice. She's safe. We're leaving now. I'd recommend you stay in orbit and wait for the next transmission from Earth Command. They'll want to discuss terms. A pause. You've got a good ship, General Shame, about the crew. Most of them should wake up in a few hours. The ones in Corridor 7 might take a bit longer. I didn't have time to be gentle. Another pause. Shorter. Next time someone tells you that you took the wrong hostage, believe them. The channel closed. In the command chamber, Vask sat at the head of the war table and said nothing for a very long time. Around him, his commanders were doing the math quietly, each of them arriving at the same conclusion at different speeds. The retreat, the cleared outposts, the patrol disappearances, the depot shutdown, the private channel transmission. None of it had been random. None of it had been desperation. Earth had retreated to make room, had pulled their forces back deliberately to clear a lane. And Hunter had walked through that lane, through the blockade, through the fleet, through the flagship's security, and into a maximum security detention block, without a single alarm going off, until it was already over. The trap had never been for the alien fleet. The trap had been for Leth's confidence, for Vask's pride, for the assumption that a lone human with a call sign and a cold voice was a problem that better locks could solve. Aura entered the chamber quietly. He did not sit. He stood near the door, his old soldier's eyes reading the room in a single sweep, and what he saw there was the thing he had feared most since this began. Not anger, not resolve, not the steel-spined response of commanders who understood the shape of their enemy and were preparing to meet it honestly. Fear, the kind of fear that made good commanders into bad ones. "He'll come back," one of the junior commanders said quietly. Not a question. Aura looked at him. "No," he said. "He won't need to." Everyone looked at him. "He came for her," Aura said. "He got her. His mission is complete." He let that settle for a moment. But every ship in this fleet now knows what happened tonight. Every soldier, every officer. They know we took a hostage, were warned, ignored the warning, and then watched one man walk through everything we built to stop him and walk back out again with exactly who he came for. He looked at Vask. "You don't need to worry about Hunter coming back, General. You need to worry about what your fleet does now that they know he exists." He was right. The reports started coming in before dawn. Crews requesting clarification on detention protocols. Officers asking quiet questions about the nature of the prisoner exchange. Soldiers on patrol speaking in lower voices than usual. Eyes moving differently. The particular alertness of people who have realized that the landscape they thought they understood contains something they cannot see. No one panicked. These were professional soldiers. veterans of real campaigns. But professionalism is a surface. Underneath it, something had shifted. A recalibration of threat assessment at the most fundamental level. One human, no armor, no fleet, no support, had walked through their best security as if it were a suggestion. And Earth's official forces were still out there, reorganized, resupplied, watching the retreat. The commanders now understood was not the end of Earth's resistance. It was the setup for it. The room they had made was not empty. It was full of things the Coalition had not learned to see. By midday, Vask received a formal transmission from Earth Command. Calm, professional, no gloating. It offered terms. Coalition withdrawal from Earth's orbit within 72 hours. Return of all prisoners. Permanent establishment of a neutral corridor. In exchange, no pursuit. No escalation. A clean exit for a fleet that had, without quite realizing it, already lost. Vask read the terms once. Then he read them again. Then he looked at Aura, who was the only person in the room whose expression carried no surprise. They planned this from the beginning, Vask said. Yes, Aura said. The retreat, the hostage, the transmission, all of it. Yes, they used one man to break our confidence before the real negotiation even started. Aura was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that Vask would think about for a long time afterward. No general. They used one man because one man was enough. The withdrawal took 61 hours. There was no ceremony, no final address from Vask, no declaration of strategic repositioning or face-saving reframe, just a fleet that had come to conquer a planet and was leaving without it. Each ship departing in quiet sequence, the formation dissolving like a shape in water. On Earth's surface, the surviving resistance fighters watched the alien ships disappear from the sky one by one. Some cheered, some wept. Most just stood in silence, looking up, not quite believing what they were seeing. In a temporary shelter at the edge of what had once been a major city, a woman sat wrapped in a blanket with a cup of something warm, watching the last few lights of the retreating fleet fade into the upper atmosphere. A man sat down beside her. No ceremony, no dramatic entrance. He simply appeared, the way he always did, from whatever direction you weren't watching. He was tired, visibly, genuinely tired, in the way that careful people let themselves be only when the job is done and no one needs them to be otherwise. She looked at him. "Took you long enough," she said. "Traffic," he said. She almost smiled. "How bad was it?" He thought about it for a second. 32 floors of ship, 63 guards, one cipher lock I'd never seen before. He paused. "Nice ship, actually. Don't get sentimental." "Never." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky clear. "They'll be back," she said eventually. "Not these ones, but others." "Probably," he said. "Will you be ready?" He looked at her sideways, the way people look at questions that don't need answering. She nodded once. Right, above them, the last alien ship slipped past the upper atmosphere and was gone. The sky was just the sky again. Battered cities stretched in every direction, full of work and grief, and the particular stubborn energy of people who had survived something they weren't supposed to survive. Somewhere in the distance, someone had already started clearing rubble. He stood up, handed her the empty cup, looked at the horizon for a moment with the flat, measuring gaze of someone who never quite stops reading a room, even when the room is an entire planet. "Rest first," he said. "Then we rebuild." He walked away in the direction of the work. No one marked where he went. No one needed to. The fleet was gone. The planet was still standing. And somewhere in the records of the Coalition's intelligence archives, buried under layers of failed encryption and classified failures, A flag had been added to a single file. Call sign Hunter. Status: do not engage. Notes: see attached. Do not take anyone connected to this operative as leverage. Do not attempt negotiation from a position of assumed strength. Do not mistake silence for absence. Do not mistake retreat for surrender.